This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
I don't feel we realize the connection between our stomachs and our minds. There is a major connection there. Some actually call the stomach the other brain. We're going to talk about that today. How learning more about this can help you move forward in life, help you heal maybe through some digestion issues, some immunity issues, issues with other organs in your body. She is a registered naturopathic doctor and has deep insight on this for sure. Dr. Laura Brown joins us once again today. How's everything going with you?
Going really well, thanks, Steve. Thank you for having me again. Love to talk about the gut connection to the mind, body, and soul. As you know, author of Beyond Digestion, talking a lot about that, but also in practice, dealing with the issues that patients bring to me often involve the gut because everything starts there. And you might not know it, but the gut contains 10 times as many microbes as your whole body contains human cells. That means 99% of the genes in you are not you.
Whoa. I got to take a second and process that. Um, what is that connection between the gut and the brain? It's much deeper than we realize, right?
It is because, I mean, if you think about it, and you mentioned before, like you thought that the gut, and it involves more than the stomach, like our gastrointestinal tract starts at our mouth and ends at our bum, and it's essentially a tube that's still outside of us, and there's a very thin one cell lining that divides us from our outside world. So we're really like a donut, if you'd like to think of it that way. And inside that tube are a lot of different microbes. But also we have a ton of nerve endings. There is a whole nervous system inside the gastrointestinal tract called the enteric nervous system. And that connects to our central nervous system via the vagus nerve. And I know there's a lot of hype out there about the vagus nerve. And the vagal nerve is our cranial nerve 10. It is responsible for activating a number of the organs in the digestive system. It is also our primary fight or flight or rest and digest nerve. So when it's activated, we're actually in rest mode, and when it's not, we're sitting in that fight or flight. Or when we're in fight or flight, that means lots of cortisol is getting released, right? It's the old running from the tiger. And we're there in order to survive. It's a survival mechanism. According to the polyvagal theory by Stephen Porges, there's actually five states of the nervous system, of the vagal nervous system, and it involves much more than just the fight or flight and the rest and digest. There's the one that is essentially, being like the armadillo curling up and playing dead, the freeze, okay, the flop. There's also the frolic and the play, and then there's the competitiveness. So there's different states that our nervous system can be in. And not only is it affecting the brain, it's affecting in the gut. And it's a bi-directional. And actually 80% of the information goes from the gut to the brain along this vagus nerve highway. 20% goes down from the brain to the gut. And we
Wow.
know, yeah, it's huge, right? And we know that those with irritable bowel syndrome, that's about 10 to 20% of the population in the world, 40% of them also have anxiety or depression. So from a naturopathic perspective, we're looking at things globally or holistically, and we're looking for that golden thread that we can pull and just see what unravels from there. And we're not looking at just one system all on its own. We're looking at how things are interconnected. Often, if we have inflammation going on in the gut, those inflammatory markers or chemicals are getting up into our brain and causing inflammation in our brain. This is another component of depression, another component of cognitive disorder or disease. Okay.
Mm.
There are So if we're looking at the microbes in our gut or the microbiome, and we have a microbiome all over our body, we are actually, just a Confucius combo of viruses, bacteria, fungi, protozoa, like all sorts of things. And when they're working in symphony or harmony or they're helpful, it's, symbiotic or helpful, living in harmony to us. Sometimes we can get overgrowths of populations or not enough of a helpful population, or we get infectious diseases coming in. And these things, our body works to put us in balance, but sometimes gets overridden. 70%, that's 70% or more of our immune system is in our gut. It's our primary place where we meet our environment. Remember that too, that we talked about. So it needs to be there in order to keep us safe from things outside.
Wow. We we don't realize what's going on there, and all of those other issues that we may be experiencing can be traced back, it seems, many of them to the gut. How do you define microbiome?
Well, microbiome is like an intricate ecosystem, okay, much like a forest, okay. It is, it holds a tissue, it has immune networks, it has communities, it has lots of circuits in there that go in and connect to, to our immune system. It connects to our nervous system, and it helps regulate our digestion. It makes vitamins, minerals. It makes serotonin and melatonin and GABA, some, things that we thought were only made in the brain are also made in the gut. And they're used for different reasons and purposes in the gut. Like 400 times more melatonin in the gut than the brain. What's with that? Well, melatonin's made in every cell, every mitochondrial cell in the body. It's a potent antioxidant. And in the gastrointestinal tract, those little cells lining it turn over every 3 to 5 days. So there's a high turnover. So we need a lot of antioxidants in there. And the melatonin is what helps heal and helps produce that. Serotonin, there's over 22 different kinds of receptors in the body. So serotonin we often think of as what's involved with depression and what we need in order to keep the serotonin in the synapses in the brain longer. We need a serotonin reuptake inhibitor, something that allows the serotonin to remain in the synapses longer in the brain. And for about 50% of the population, it's helpful. It helps with their mood. But serotonin's used to help with gut motility. It helps move things down. It helps with so many other things in the gut and in the body. So it has multi purposes.
Does this very much come back to what we eat, affecting, we don't put the emphasis on how what we're eating is affecting the microbiome, the gut, and all of that. We just take it for granted. Many of us, well, I'll just shovel that in. My body will make up for it. It'll figure it out. It's always done it before. But after a while, maybe we're beating on our body based on our diet.
Well, everything's energy, coming back to that. And if we're not giving our body things that are fresh and vibrant, we're not going to feel so fresh and vibrant.
Hmm.
And we need a nutrient dense diet in order to provide the nutrients our body needs. Otherwise, we end up with disease or things that are out of balance. A lot of the issues that we see are nutrient deficiencies. And that comes back to what we're eating. And it's not just what we're eating, it's meal timing. It's, how much, meal quantity, meal quality. Our food quality has reduced by about 60% over the last 100 years. Just the soils are depleted, massive agricultural, industrial age of agriculture, not replacing nutrients into the soils. These things affect us. Plastics, there's plastics inside of us. There's plastics in our brain. There's plastics happening in us because we're ingesting them. And it's not just, what we're picking up off of BPA bottles that we're worried about and microwaving and plastics. It's actually now found in our water systems. It's in the fish. It's in our food. It's
Yeah.
It's permeating our culture, and we thought that it was better than using paper. Um, but it's not things that we learn, right? Things we
Mm.
learn. Our environment impacts us. And we are an environment inside of us. That microbiome, that forest of goodness and microbes is reflective of what's external to us because we live in it. We eat, we breathe, we spend time in it, we touch it. It gets to us. We're impacted by it for sure.
What can we do to be proactive to improve our gut health? Obviously, eat a better balanced diet, make the right choices. And you said quantity. Yeah, so many times you go somewhere and their plate is loaded up and you feel like, I want to just eat everything here. No, it's two meals right there. Take it home. You don't need to eat that much, but that's all habit. We're trained that way. We've gotten there. What are some things that we can do to be proactive to improve, go easier on our gut?
Well, I mean, food is, nutrient dense food. And as you said, quality and quantity. So looking at that, that's always key. I always start with that with my patients. Sleep is critical. Our gut has a circadian rhythm. So our meal timing and our sleep is not inactive. So much healing happens in our sleep. So if we're not sleeping, not much else is going on. So a good night's sleep is critical. Moving the body, especially in nature with fresh air, sunshine. These things are good, helps us relax.
Mm,
That comes to stress management because we know that's, over time, that stress hormone, cortisol, affects our gut, makes it more susceptible to not working properly and allowing things that it should be keeping out in. That's our leaky gut. So modulating stress, it comes back to the old naturopathic principles of fresh air, sunshine, nature, relaxation. And you think of eating in company and good company, right? Not
mm,
eating in front of the TV or while you're driving the car. Focus on your food. The enjoyment of food starts with thinking about it, planning it, shopping for it, smelling it, cooking it, being involved with it, getting your hands onto it, right? Tasting it, combining the flavors, learning. I think we've forgotten how to use herbs and spices. We've got all these chemical additives to make things taste like something else, and it's so far from our natural goodness.
mm. I just want to share. It was, and I always do something with somebody else, always have, go to dinner with someone else. Almost embarrassed to admit this, but it was only 4 years ago that I went to dinner by myself. But to your point, I'm sitting here, it's like 8 o'clock at night. I'm like, oh, I gotta get something to eat. Me, hit the Applebee's up the street. So I'm like, I'm gonna go. Felt awkward walking in because I've never done it before. Ridiculous. I get it. But let me tell you, Laura, that was the best meal I ever had because I wasn't giving 50% of me to somebody else. I was sitting there just like you just said, the flavors, having that one beer. Oh, it was so delicious, but it wasn't anything different than any other meal I've had. It's that I was intentional and really enjoyed the flavor and the experience. So I think you're right. Well, what are we doing here? We got a screen in front of us. We're not thinking about what we're eating. And maybe if we are taking that time, we'll eat less. We'll make better choices. All of the above. Organics, very important in your eye.
That's a really good question because we live in a very imperfect world. Organic farming means something different in different places of the world. There's different regulators and regulation.
Mm,
We tend to hope that, the regulation is better than your common chemical constituents. So we tend to hope that it's better and has less pesticides and herbicides, but it's not always squeaky clean, so to speak. And we can't always get them, and we can't always afford them.
yeah.
So it's looking at those types of things. So I always say, we live in an imperfect world. Wash your fruits and vegetables. Wash it with a combination of a little bit of vinegar, like 10% solution with water. Let it sit a little bit and then rinse it off with water. That'll help, dissolve some of the waxes and pesticides and things like that. Rinse it well. Buy organic when you can, but if you can't, don't stress because the stress is bad too.
Yeah.
Okay. Honor your food and treat your food nicely. The fresher, the better. I think sometimes we're better to get something that's been frozen at the peak of goodness and freshness locally than to import something that's been on a truck for 3 weeks. After a week, for example, spinach will have lost more than half of its nutrient value. So it's little more than fiber that you're taking in. You need it fresh. So,
Wow. I've never
so
heard that. Sounds reasonable. And that's a wake up. Uh,
right.
I've gotten in the habit when it comes to fruits like strawberries and blueberries. I'll buy frozen and I'll have a
Mhm.
bag in my refrigerator if I want to make a smoothie or something, and it tastes fresher. I'm assuming it was frozen at its peak. And a lot of times I'll buy things fresh, but they don't last. I don't get to them. It's a waste of money. Um, I- yeah, I think we think that we're not doing ourselves justice when we buy frozen, but I think it's a complete opposite.
And what do you think of when things you buy, like those berries that you buy when they go bad, what's growing on them,
Mold.
right? And do you think the mold is there before you see it?
Do I have to answer this question?
Yeah, it's got to have come from somewhere, and in small quantities, the body will deal with it. But in larger quantities, that's not going to be so good,
No, especially if you have mold allergies.
right?
Yeah.
So,
Mm.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. So there's that side of it.
What about probiotics and prebiotics?
Ah, do you know the difference?
Not really. I could try and fumble my way through it, but why waste time?
So prebiotics are what comes first. It's the pre, right? So that is the food for the microbiome. In other words, it's fiber. Okay, so when we get fiber in our diet, most of the American standard diet has about 5 grams of fiber. Our bodies, in how they are made, need up to 35 grams of fiber a day. And we're getting that in our fruits and vegetables, in our grains, in our nuts and seeds, that type of thing. So sometimes we think of fiber as psyllium or chia or, in our nuts and seeds. Other times we're thinking of it as, oh, like our squash, things like that. High in fiber, beets, high in fiber. There's lots of lists of high fiber foods. So that's going to feed our microbiome. That's food because what doesn't get digested gets fermented. So things that get digested and absorbed in the small intestine, great. But then there's things that get passed on to the large intestine, and that's where most of the microbiome is in our gastrointestinal tract, and it's meant to ferment the things that we can't digest in our small intestine. That's a prebiotic. Okay, that's feeding the microbiome. A probiotic is actually taking something that has healthy and helpful bacteria for us. So it could be in like a kefir or a fermented cheese or fermented milk. And that could be fermented coconut milk, goat milk, cow's milk. Okay, or it could be fermented vegetables like cabbage or, sauerkraut or kimchi. Now you have to make sure that you're buying things that are fermented, not pasteurized. So you want to buy the stuff that's in the fridge and says fermented and make sure that it's not pasteurized. Because if it's pasteurized, pasteurization is heat to kill the bacteria. So you're killing the good bacteria in the product that you might be thinking is giving me good bacteria. Okay, like when we make, but all of these things we've been using for thousands of years, right? That old crock grandma had, they put cabbage in there and put some stuff in there and some stones and let it ferment. This is a probiotic. Now they're doing a ton of research on individual probiotics now and seeing what they might be able to treat with them because they can patent that and they can make money off that. And the drug companies are scooping this up like crazy because it's huge business. However, you have to think that we are an ecosystem and we are as unique as our fingerprint in our microbiome composition. And yes, we can take certain probiotics to help with certain conditions, but at the end of the day, it's not the be all and end all. We still need that healthy balance.
Eating yogurt, good.
Depends what kind. A lot of the yogurt has fillers, has flavors, natural flavoring, which isn't really natural. It's just, quote, natural flavoring, but sometimes a lot of sugar. But if you were to buy a, say, like a Greek or a score yogurt that is plain and fermented and full fat, that is going to have some great lactobacillus and bifido in it. So.
Okay, so a lot of us, because we're programmed for marketing messages, a lot of us will buy non-fat yogurt or low-fat yogurt. Better to buy, let's say, Greek yogurt that doesn't say that, just full fat.
Yeah, full fat Greek yogurt, plain, not flavored, and with no other ingredients other than bacterial culture and the type of milk, whether, whatever type of milk that is. And when we look at some of the different types of yogurt out there, if you can tolerate cow-based things, I think that's likely or sheep or goat, that would be likely your best type of fermentation. Some of the vegan stuff, it's not much more than, you might as well take a probiotic pill
Mm.
based on kind of what it's feeding off of in some regards. There's a lot of fillers in them, I find. Now, maybe that's not true in all cases. Maybe I haven't found the perfect one yet, but that's been my case as I look at it. Mm.
In your experience, you're studying all of this. Do you look at the gut in awe of what it does and what it can do, even based on the call it abuse sometimes of the things that we eat? Does it amaze you?
Absolutely. I mean, the whole body amazes me, and what's going on in the gut and the research that we're able to do now is really in the last 5 years exploded and helps us really understand from a scientific reductionist point of view what it does. But if we were to look at what it, from a holistic point of view versus a reductionistic point of view, it's still absolutely incredibly amazing that all this goes on and we don't even have to take mind to it if we're treating it right.
Mm, yeah, exactly. If you keep it in balance, but you just got to be intentional, in terms of that fresh fruit, the vegetables, and also the marketing stuff too. Now, so how many times I'll pick up a package says organic. When you really read it, what it actually says is contains some organic ingredients. Now, right away you're thinking it's organic. That doesn't, it could be one ingredient's organic and there's 50 others that are not. But now you're paying a premium thinking that you're getting what's better for your body when it's not. Unfortunately, it's work. We need to do a little bit of work on it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And often it could be, still a lot of sugar, still a lot of processed industrial seed oils, which are really inflammatory for the gut.
Yeah.
So it's really watching the ingredients on the label, and often the best food are those without an ingredient label.
Mm. That's called an ear of corn. You know?
That's called whole food, right? Yeah, when you're
Yeah,
looking at it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Love your insight and knowledge. So important. And so many of us have gut issues. Laura, what's the best way to find you if somebody wants to talk a little bit more about direction, coaching, consultation, all of that?
All of it's available off of my website, Steve, and that is drlaurambrown.com. So that's DRLAURA, M as in Marie, BROWN.com.
Thank you for today. Truly appreciate it. Lots of, I think, mysteries uncovered for many of us, wondering why we feel how we do. And maybe this will make us change a little bit of how we think about what we eat. And I appreciate that.
Excellent. We'll talk more and dive into more about the nutrients in the brain next time.
Looking forward. I really am. Like I'm fascinated by all of this. And it's, more, when that began for me, when I had stomach issues. You start learning. Looking forward. We'll catch up next time.
All right. Thanks, Steve. Take care.
You too. We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.